And then as for premium, now that I can actually talk about this, I played Regalia. Vanguard fight. Yeah, hard. We're talking about Vanguard fight right on the wave. I hope you're doing well, my dude. But yeah, I did play Regalia for this day 2 of the event, which was good and bad. I don't feel like this was probably the correct deck, or if I stuck with this deck, I definitely played this list incorrectly. I realized some things about Harry as I was going through the day that gives you a very rough matchup into that deck, which we'll talk about. And obviously, I do kind of more about like the actual choices in this deck, considering premium is a lot harder to build for than standard. So, for Angelica, this was the main grade 3 of the deck, along with the 4 copies of Yggdrasil. I actually think Angelica is incorrect right now. I would 100% play Frigg over Angelica. Frigg, the format's very rush heavy, in my opinion. The format's very aggressive, so you will have counter blast to burn. Not to mention Frigg's specific wording of you can't interact cards with Divine Gauge compared to like, oh yeah, you just can't choose them. That doesn't matter against stuff like Harry, where Harry can just wipe a column regardless of whether or not you have Divine Gauge. So I feel that Angelica is kind of incorrect. It's better for Marduk, technically speaking. That's about it. And then of course Yggdrasil is, I mean, it's a card you have to play. And then I also played the 1 copy of Goddess of the Abyss. This is for Mega Colony. We obviously don't play this anymore now that Mega Colony, now that it's dead. I don't think Mega Colony is a dead deck, but it's not going to be as prevalent as it once was. You're not going to play for a matchup that will see significantly less play going forward. I don't think it's worth the tech slot. However, the Revelation actually did come up a lot, funnily enough. Just being able to look at the top part of my deck and I could adjust my game plan accordingly. A lot of times I would just be like, oh, it's an OT on top, and then I would just leave it. So OT was pretty good to like see, or from like, oh no, I don't want to draw that, I'd rather that in Soul. I could just like call it, check it, leave, like put it in Soul, rest something else. I felt the deck was fine in that regard, but Frigg definitely should have been the grade 3 over Angelica. As for the 2s, Forlorn, 3 of, I always forget how to pronounce this card's name. Forgive me, I am not the most familiar with my Greek names. Larry Jaziva, 2 Thread, and then 2 Diorion, and then 1 copy of Arthens. Honestly, if you're playing anything Keter Sanctuary right now, you need to be playing Arthen, or more Arthen in my opinion. Arthen is very important right now. I think it's probably one of the best cards in Keter, or Keter/United. Thread was, so this is kind of a toss-up. I was like alternating between like 3-2 ratios of both of these. I settled on this just because like getting this early is really good. It gets you the body. We're also not playing as many Regalia names, so having the ability to just call this, put 2 from drop into Soul was really good. This is good early. I actually wish I played a third of this though, just because I needed something early in some cases to do, and a lot of times I had like no early game. So, and obviously like Norn isn't bad in early, but it's not the best in early. So realistically, also the fact that Arthen is really good against Grand Blue. It doesn't do as much against Pale Moon, but this is the ratio I would probably play something similar to. Again, I would just try and find room for the extra Arthen. I don't know where I would, but Arthen is really importante in this format. And then as for the ones, which this is pretty straightforward. For Var, I think Var is really good right now. For Jotun, I probably should have played 1 Elementaria, but I don't know. It's really weird with Elementaria in this deck, because obviously it's like if you have like a PG that recycles itself, you want the options to keep throwing your PGs back, like to recycle itself in general. But the problem is that games don't go long enough to where you can turtle on your PGs a whole lot. So I don't feel that Jotun is as good. Plus with some cards having like, there's a Pale Moon card, I'm forgetting its name. I think it's one of the Beast Tamer strides that just like consistently, that puts you like on a Battle Door effect. So it does hurt a lot with this card, and Elementaria doesn't have that issue. Oh, Cardfighter, hello Luna, and yeah, we're just yapping about Rosemont. We finished standard, but we're talking about premium right now, because I have more to say about premium on a realistic basis. 2 Flap Angel. This card was honestly like fine. I liked it. It was good early. I saw these two a whole lot early, so having access into my Angelica was really good. But again, it should have been free. But this was also just nice to call, use as a beater or early game booster if I needed to, so this card was fine. Making 20k columns also wasn't bad either. And then the controversial card of 2 Azucena. Azucena, the grade 1 G Guardian promo. I have seen people be all over on numbers with this card. Some people say you have to play 4, some people say don't play this card. I think this card is good and bad at the same time. It's really good it was really good into the Rosemont meta with Mega Colony, considering it does give you just like something to do if you can't G-Guard defensively. We also don't have a ton of 10k shield grade ones, which this does give you that. But also the fact that if Harry does miss its crest, you can just give your Vanguard an extra plus 5k for the turn, so you're 18 against like a bunch of their 17s. So you're able to just like in some cases stop their turn. I was literally 1 card in hand short from living that after doing this, but Azucena I also needed to heal, or get a heal in drop first, which forced a lot of awkward guarding. But yeah, I think this card's really good. It is recyclability. And I think that Azucena, just having that raw pressure, just say I'm an 18 now, deal with it. 18k base is a lot better than 13, especially with Weedy Hut junior numbers in some decks, so I think this card is really good. I don't think that 4 is correct, but I see where the argument comes from. Having the ability just to like toss cards, like normal units back into your deck. It also lets you it's also one of the few cards that lets you put the Orion back into your deck, so if you need to get back the Dreaming Dragon to not deck out, you have that option. But my games typically went so fast one way or another, I was not able to resolve this in a way that would have let me get the Orion back and then to reset my deck. I actually don't think I resolved Dreaming Dragon once the entire tournament. And then of course we have Bird as the starter because, you know, the Bird is the best starter in Genesis. No, I will not fight you on that. Pam is incorrect. And then our one-of triggers of Dreaming Dragon and Blue OT. I felt like an anime character where I was resolving OT so much throughout the day. Like, I think I resolved it all 5 rounds, if not close to all 5 rounds. But I resolved this so early, I actually, in some cases, couldn't pick up a card. Like, I would just have, like, drive check it. Oh, cool, it's just a glorified crit. Or, cool, I have nothing in my drop zone to pick up. So this card was very awkward. And then Dreaming Dragon... I don't know. I can't really comment if I love Dreaming Dragon or not. I feel like you have to play it. I feel like it's incorrect not to. Just because if you do get to reset your deck, it's very strong. But otherwise, it's like... the sequencing on it with attacks doesn't feel good at all. Oh, excuse me, more Sippy. Yeah. Those are my only 2 one-up triggers. Obviously, if I could run more OTs, I would, but you know, we're all about banning OT at this point. And then for crits. So I played probably the most controversial lineup. 4 of the Stride crit, 4 Kukui Hime, and only 2 Thviti. Realistically, if I wish to go back, I'd probably still be controversial about it. I think this card is the best crit in the deck. I don't want to be discarding my grade 3s, which granted, maybe with cutting the Goddess of the Abyss, I would reevaluate this card, but I did not super love 50. This card, though, however, did suck. I'm not even gonna lie about it. I think Kukuri Hime was not a good card. I was not in a lot of positions to where I needed to put this into Soul. Like, most of the cases, either I put it into Soul and it doesn't matter because I still don't have enough Regalia names, or I put it into Soul and it's like, I'm just hoping for a different card at that point. Which a lot of times I wish was just the Vitvi. And, like, damage checking this defensively in this hyper fast format technically would have mattered a lot more just to like see extra cards. So I would probably play at least 3 of this, but I again don't know if I would continue to play 4. Like, I almost want to go 452 Kukuri Hime, but I don't feel like that's correct either. I don't know. It's very hard to, like, I feel like play this. I feel like playing this in this format is very uphill. And then, of course, we have our 4 copies of heal triggers Grade 3 heals, pretty good. Obviously, gives you defensive bonuses. We stop ourselves from dying. But I did not really check a lot of these throughout the day, so yay. So overall, that's the main deck. I will go over the G-Zone real fast for you guys and kind of talk about that too, because obviously this matters. So I played the one on Maruda, Mushspell, the dragon dude, I always forget his name, and then the Harmonix Messiah. This is pretty fine. There were I think I actually want to play a second on Maruda going forward, and I'll talk about like the cards that were good and bad in the G-Zone realistically. And then 2 Marduk, which was the best card in my G-Zone, and I realized that even analyzing this tournament afterwards. In fact, it was so good, I should have played 3 Marduk, and I realistically should not have played the Archetype's main Stride Minerva. This card was terrible. Unironically, I say that, and I realize that it's blasphemous to say as a Regalia player, where it's like, what do you mean drive checking 7 cards with 3 Vanguard restains is bad? Yes, I stand by that take. This is the worst card in the entire deck, and this should have either not been played, or I should have cut 2. I never resolved Minerva all day. My opponents literally just kept sniping my board, because if you stride into this, you lose your board protection. Whereas if you go into Marduk, because you aren't striding during your turn, technically you aren't striding until battle phase, you get to keep your protection. It's so hard for Pale Moon in a lot of cases to answer your board, so I feel that Marduk was correct. Realistically, I probably would have gone 3 Marduk, and then like the second on Maruda, and that's probably what I should have done. If you want to not do that, the only other card I would recommend would be Vanagander, which there were times where I wanted Vanagander. I'll admit that, just because like it's a stride that's like a Soul Blast 6. It forces your opponent to play in such a way that's like, alright, do I have more triggers on top of my deck? Because you get to stack you look at your top 4 and then stack your top or bottom after they guard. So it's like, alright, if they give you a 2 to pass, and you know you have the 2 triggers. But the other problem was, because I was playing Little Kukuri Hime, she's only a 5k compared to everything else in the deck, which is a 10 or above. I felt that it was the incorrect call to be playing that many Kukuri Himes, so my trigger numbers were very skewed towards like, alright, if I could bank on a 2 to pass, and I would realistically hit the 2 to pass with trigger numbers, or triggers that I was hitting, but because my trigger numbers were so small with the 1 Dreamy Dragon and the 4 Kukuri Hime, I wasn't getting there. It still was the 4 Minerva for the event, but I feel that playing into Minerva in a lot of matchups incorrect. Do not go into this card against Pale Moon and Grand Blue, aka the 2 most common decks of the format right now. This card is really bad against those matchups. It's fine against Nubatama. It's pretty good against Gridora. I wouldn't go into it against Narukami. Like, it's good into Rogue, I guess is the best way to put it. But to be fair, you're also a Rogue deck, but I thought the Minerva was really bad. And then the G-Guards are pretty basic. 1 Dismal. Excuse me. 1 Laurier. Another card that can shove you cards back in the deck. Gets you back the Theorion as well. This card's pretty good. Then 2 copies of Air. Probably the best G-Guard in my opinion. Just getting to play extra card names from Drop into Soul. And then 2 of the G-Guard I never had a chance to go into, just because I was lacking cards in general. My hand size was really low. My quality was really low. I was not able to afford to go into this. But I don't want to say that it is all doom and gloom for this format. I feel that there are cards that I could have played. I've already talked about having the 3rd Marduk. I think Marduk is the best stride of the format in a realistic sense. Sometimes playing into Amaruda's 15 Soul Blast condition is also really good. You don't get there as much in like actual Regalia, but might be a worthwhile play. Swap the Angelicas for Phrasias, like I said. I would tinker with Viti versus Kukuri Hime. I think Viti is kind of better. I still think that playing the crate or the stride crit's really good. Maybe 2 Dreaming Dragon. I'm not 100% sure on that. Azucena, I like the card, but it's also just very awkward where you have to see a heal trigger and drop first in order to get there. Because I felt like it was incorrect just to be plopping down heals a lot. Flap Angel's pretty good. I probably should play an Elementaria. Probably a second Arthen somewhere. Try and find room for... I guess realistically, I would probably cut the Goddess of the Abyss for the 3rd thread. So I'd probably do something like that. Probably keep these at 3. Norn at 4 was perfectly fine. And then cut the, keep the Yggdrasils, and then cut the Angelicas for Frags. I think that Frag just is the best card right now for this deck. I think the fact that this deck has so much like strong main deck protection is really good in the context of what this deck wants to do. But it's so rough because everything hits numbers so well. You just bleed your hand because you're so low on shield quality. And also the fact that, oh look, a bot. Yeah, overall, I felt like this deck was just okay. It's really not like the best deck in my opinion. I probably wouldn't have played this again. But if I was to play with Regalia again, those are like the things I would keep in mind. And then now we can kind of, also I guess if people want to see fancy gift markers, not that it really matters. Fun fact, I've actually been playing with my Korean Blaster Blade marker for so long, I kept forgetting to ever swap it out, but I finally got the Salome one. And also, you're basically a Force 2 deck the entire time, just also keep that in mind. And then as for my opponents, because like I said, I did play significantly less Premium. I was more, weirdly enough, focused on Standard despite the fact that I enjoyed Premium more. I basically got hit with the meta, more or less, and I feel like the wins I did have felt very invalidated for one reason or another, but we'll talk about that. So round 1 was against Crest Harry, best deck of the format. Go figure, my luck. He hit his Crest, I hit my OTM for my first grade 3 turn, but I couldn't CB for the Marduk, and he sniped my entire side column with the grade 3 dragon dude that discards a trigger, wipes the column. So I just misplayed my entire kill turn, which kind of where some of this knowledge also comes from. I realized that like my kill turn boards like are very susceptible if I stride, so you almost have to play this deck like it's a V deck. Round 2, I put in Steam Maiden. I went second, but I won. I flipped OT turn 1. He was playing without a G zone, and then he actually still somehow almost won that game. He was going to give me the win if I had lost, but I did clutch up the game regardless, and like because he was just there for the promo. Again, sounds like what a lot of people were doing. Round 3 was against Crest Night Rose. I went second. I lost. Getting hit by 42k Beatrice is pretty good, and he double cannoneered my Yggdrasil Norn. The Yggdrasil that was on my back to my right, and then the Norn behind my Vanguard. So I just kind of blew up. I really couldn't like do anything. I was getting ready for deck out anyway, so even if he like just passed turn, I probably would have lost. And then round 4 was against MLB. I went first. I won. I just kind of Marduked him twice, and he never had guard restrict on Crystal Luster. Also, I could tell his list was definitely not optimal, as he was running like vanilla V era heals. So, I mean, sweet guy, love playing against him, very, very chill dude, but I could tell that he was not like the best player per se. And then round 5, I was against Crest Harry again. He missed the Crest, and I needed one more card to live his guard restrict for the turn, but I just couldn't get there. I had heals in deck, and like I remember just flipping OT like basically every single game, and I ended premium with a 2-3 drop, which did not feel right considering I usually practice a lot more premium than I do V, but equally I just didn't practice enough. I feel I decided Regalia like the week. Excuse me. I decided on Regalia the week before the event, and I wasn't super committal to this deck as a whole. I just kind of picked it last minute because, like, you know what? Regalia, in theory, goes, like, neutral with about everything. I expected more Gordora. I thought there'd be less Night Rose and Harry. Not to say I didn't expect any, but I thought there'd be less of it. However, Premium about hit cap. And we'll see how many Harry and Night Rose there were once we get to the top cut. So, I will say I incorrectly prepared for this meta. But speaking of, let's talk about it. The Premium meta as a whole. I can also say this is slightly incorrect, at least in the Narukami aspect of it. This is not too... I always want to say it's Vowing Sword, but I always forget this Eradicator's name. One of the Eradicators, hold on, I'm gonna look him up again. It's not, I want to say Stun or something, I know that's definitely not right. Is this Sweep Command? Is that the one I'm thinking of? Yeah, Sweep Command sale. I know this is like not double Sweep Command for context. One of these was Sweep Command, but the other was Vanquisher. So there's a slight incorrectness here. But anyways, so top 32 was 7 Nubatama, 5 Crest Harry, 5 Crest Night Rose, 4 Ghidorah, 4 Mega Colony, 2 Naru, 2 Neo Nectar, one of which being a Musketeer. And apparently the Musketeer went further than Asha, at least to my understanding, so I was a little surprised about that. 1 DP, 1 Jet, 1 Messiah, 1 Fenrir, 1 Gold. I don't actually know if it was Ezel or not. A Big Belly, I actually didn't even know there was a Big Belly there. And then Angel Geese. And then seeing the conversion. Yeah, I was a little wrong about this format. 3 Pale Moon, 2 Grand Blue, 2 Nuba, 2 Mega Colony, 2 Naru, 2 Neo Nectar, 8 DP, Jet, and then Messiah. Messiah, I believe, was not Crest Messiah, if I remember correctly, and I don't know if the Jet was Crest Jet or not. But we're seeing 7 out of the top 16 be Crest decks, and then top 8. Oh, look at how the Crest decks kind of took over. 3 Harry, a Nuba, a Night Rose, 1 DP, 1 Mega Colony, 1 Jet. The Jet might again be Crest, I don't know for certain on that. But over half of top 8 was Crest Harry. Or over half was Crest decks, and yes, Harry is like the I realistically would say after experiencing the deck, I think Harry is the best deck in the format right now for premium. And to even further that, look at that! It was first and fourth. My boy Kevin Cho was the winner of premium with Crest Harry. And then we had 1 Grand Blue. So the meta was not quite where I expected. I expected Ghidorah to go a little farther, but it's really strong when you can multi-attack for insane numbers. Harry just kind of does whatever it wants. It also has Retire mid-battle phase by discarding a trigger. It multi-attacks a ton. It has a game plan into Ghidorah even before the Ghidorah hits. The problem I feel like with Harry versus Night Rose in specific is like what happens when you don't hit the crest, right? Because Grand Blue has so much of a stronger base compared to Harry, but when Harry pops off, it hits a higher ceiling than Night Rose does. In a way, I almost want to kind of compare it to like the Malice Raziel issue in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, where it's like I would say Harry is Malice and like Grand Blue is Raziel. Raziel, excuse me. I always want to say Raziel because it's Vanguard, but yeah. I feel like it's very comparable to that situation right now, where Harry is just like a strong combo deck, and then Night Rose is like the very floor stable. Even if it doesn't hit the crest, it still does like very well type of game plan. And then Nubatama is just like a very high, like I can potentially kill you kind of deck. And I think that this deck is strong, but not the most broken. But I also feel like realistically, like looking at these top results, right? Oh, that is too far back. I think that we kind of need to look at this format as objectively as we need to, and the fact that even like at a top 32, technically 50% of the decks were Crest decks, and like only out of like the non-Crest decks that we see in the other half of it, we still probably had the Crest Jet. I wouldn't believe it's Crest Jet on a realistic basis if it is Chrono Jet. I know Messiah isn't playing its Crest, but this format feels very much like if you're not playing a Crest deck, you are in a very rough spot, and arguably just kind of throwing the format. Because Crest hits such like a high number ceiling for decks that probably shouldn't be hitting such a high number ceiling. Like again, I don't think it like makes sense for me. It's like, yeah, my grade 3 unboosted 0 triggers swings for 42 on its own. I know there's the argument for that's been going around that's like, hey, we we choice restrict history collection strategies with Crest generators. I don't think that's the worst play, but I don't feel like it's gonna be the answer in the long run. Just because it's like we'll see more Crest decks in the future, and it just kind of becomes an arms race of like, oh, did you hit Crest? No, did you hit Crest? Yes. Well, I guess I lose then, and it doesn't feel good in that regard to like just have this level of arms race, which sucks too, because I feel like Harry, like, when you don't hit Crest, is such a cool deck to play against. Like, I had fun, like, I probably had the most fun with my Harry opponent, like, missed their Crest, but that was just because I felt like I was playing like a real, genuine, interactive game of Vanguard at that point, not like, oh, I'm about to get blown out of the water by Crest numbers. It's really cool when I have, like, 10 attacks coming at me, and, like, they're all, like, 30 plus, okay. Oh, and guard restrict, so, you know, I hold very mixed opinions on this Crest meta, but I don't think it's, like, the end of the world that we're here in this Crest meta. I didn't show this off. This is the pile of stuff that I picked up while I was at Rosemont. I actually picked up 0 accessories this time, which is weird for me. I usually pick up at least, like, some sleeves, something like that, but I don't know. Just nothing I really wanted. Excuse me, I need to take a sip. Yeah, just some miscellaneous stuff, and I figured some people might want to see this. I picked up 2 of the Stoicheo Dragon, the Greater One Energy Dragon, just because I didn't have any of these. And who knows, maybe with Magnolia we actually need this. 3 Goddess of the Sun Amaterasu. I have OTT on the side, and I just didn't own these. Ideal Ego, Zirconium, and Craving Claw. This finishes up some play sets of some cards. 2 Rebirth. I don't know, maybe I'll play Kagura one day. 2 SP Balinus. They're pretty. They were super cheap. I figured why not just pick them up. And then 1 Pararam. I need $5 in a trade. That's realistically it. There's Gurgwitz, VR Gurgwitz, the Dindrains, the new Dindrain, just because I didn't own these. 3 out of my 4 foil Saragons. However, my 4th did arrive very recently. I also saw that the non-foil spiked again, so I need to sell those. And then for the big money hitters, I guess. So I move this all to the side. For people who know, I do sometimes dabble in Shadowverse. So I picked up 2 foil heroic entries. They didn't have a 3rd, unfortunately. But Hero is like my favorite deck in Shadowverse. I'm a Swordcraft player exclusively, so getting probably like one of the most important cards in foil, especially when the deck will have support in a set or 2, I want to say will be really cool. Big shoutouts to my homie Levi for swapping me on these. But I had original BT03 SPs. He had these SIRs. I handed him some like cash and like a little bit of other trade, but he was willing to like make up the difference. Not a super hype price, mind you, because like these are bought out at like $80. I didn't want to pay 80s, so he like valued them a bit lower for me. And then last but not least, probably the biggest hitter, DSR Sylvanhorn. I'm gonna see if I can. Yeah, there we go. DSR Sylvanhorn Beast King Magnolia. This is something I have wanted ever since this card came out, and I just never picked it up. I regretted not picking it up when it was like $60, and now it's like been at 100 for most of its life. But thankfully, I met up with some dudes who are like, "Hey, I have one of these," and like I did half trade, half cash. The cash was still on the lower end, so it only wasn't even like half, but he hooked me up, and then I finally have it. We probably won't even play this card once the new support comes out, but we don't know. And then for people who are wondering what my entry promos were, yeah, I pulled dog. That's basically the best way to put it. I pulled the dog butter promos, especially the front. I was so upset with the front, because this is my day 2 entry promo, and the people to my left and right both pulled the Brain Gate energy. And the person in front of me pulled a Mikoto heal, I want to say, so I was like, I wonder who got the bad pack out of between the 4 of us. But yeah, overall, Rosemont was a very fun event. I had a great time with it. And yeah, I feel like I could relook at this format again, kind of look at some things like a bit differently. I probably want to play Regalia again, but I'm probably going to be taking a little bit of a break from Vanguard for the foreseeable future, at least until after Worlds. Not that I have much of a reason to, or at least until Worlds is over, I should say. Just because I don't have much reason to be competing at the moment. And then I guess the last thing I want to talk about, which is the news we got today, was the Festival Collection. So we don't have an English date for this. This is purely the Japanese side of things. But yeah, Festival Collection 2025. And I think the mechanic of this set is interesting. where they are going to be 6 incredibly strong cards that you're only allowed to play 1 of per deck. I am curious how these are going to go on the new ORRR rarity. I thought we'd just be getting new OTs again, but they said, nah, just 6 new cards. I'm curious what these are going to do. I hope we can play these in premium, and it's not like standard exclusive. Like, I don't want to see an energy blast on these cards or anything like that, but we'll see. I'm excited though. The Keter girl just makes me think Blue Sky Knight Alt Mile. I'm very excited for it. And then for some of the reprints, which had me both excited and nervous, I don't remember this grade 2 deer thing, but Cindy getting reprinted is very huge. Obviously, I don't know how big this Orphist one is. I don't know if this card is big or not. And then there's my boy, Blaster Blade the Vanguard. I have been so looking forward to this. Now, I did notice on the English side of things, they did not tweet this image or post about this one in particular and said, look forward to English announcements about this product. I am still hoping this means we get Blaster Blade the Vanguard. And because this is the only card I could see them being iffy about releasing for whatever reason. This is a promo that we've been waiting on for a hot minute. This is the promo that everybody's been waiting for. I feel like we're going to release it originally in English side in the manga that we're getting officially, but I'm hoping that we get it here. I would prefer that we get it here just so people have access to it compared to having to spend like $44 on one representative of a promo, but that was more or less it. It's not as much on news on this side of things, but I am looking forward to it. And I hope that this is how we get this card finally. And also Cindy being reprinted is really good. People can build buff Sagra for not $70 on 2 cards. I think that's a little ridiculous. Well, I guess 50 to 70 depending on how you get your Cindy's, but regardless, Cindy's like overly expensive, and I'm happy that we're getting her. I'm curious where this is gonna go. And yeah, that's just kind of it. I thought that Rosemont was a fun event. I thought the news today was pretty cool. Obviously don't expect me to cover news a whole lot like this, but I felt that this was something good to look forward to, and I want to see where this game goes in the future. Realistically, I hope that we get some more premium products soon. Please do not treat premium as if it's just like a side format. Please don't ever axe premium. If you do, you know you're losing like a third of your player base here. This is a game that has survived because it has had such a long-standing player base. Premium exists because people want to play the format. So don't treat us as if we're the side thing. Treat premium as if we're a format that matters. And just even like product once a year, you know? That's all that we really need. Like, I felt that even History Collection was okay, though I would have preferred a little more than just History Collection. Just new Stride, new G-Guard once a year, maybe some other new cards. Stop energy blocking cards so we can't play with them. Yeah, that's kind of where I stand on this as a whole. I still like Vanguard's fine, but I'm just ready to take a little bit of a break. And I'll probably be back with some stuff after Worlds. We'll see. I will be doing my Team League report probably as well in a similar fashion once we get to that point. But I think that's what I'm going to call it. I'm getting a little tired. I feel a little in my chest. Not quite well enough to stream. I think I can't quite hold commentary super well. But yeah, that's more or less it for me. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. If you haven't already, please hit that like button, follow, subscribe, wherever you're watching this on. Helps me out a ton. If you want to financially support me in the stream and all the goodies, please consider subbing, gifting a sub, donating, all that other fun stuff. And yeah, that's it for me.